Hey dudes. This is my artist, Sam Shaw. He's a photographer. I really like this picture of him actually, and I thought he looked like a pimp, but I guess he looks like James too, so that's fine. Before I get started, I just have a question. When you guys think of Marilyn Monroe, like what's the first image to come to mind? Slow it.
Sex.
Oh.
She said image. She's a sex symbol.
Okay, alright.
Ew.
The picture of her in the white dress and it's blowing up. That one.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Sam Shaw took this picture. This is his photograph. So, going into it, so his earlier life. So Sam was born to Russian immigrants in 1912 in the Lower East Side of New York City. From an early age, he had a really love and passion for the arts, and he painted and he drew. And because his family wasn't extremely rich, he used to make statues out of street art. So he just kind of used his resources, used what he had. After he graduated high school, he shared a studio with Romare Bearden, who is right there. And Sam took that photograph of him. And Romare Bearden is actually a famed African-American artist. And they shared a studio together, and they actually ended up collaborating throughout his entire life. And in the 40s, he kind of did little odd jobs. He was a cartoon artist. He drew political cartoons and sports cartoons. Okay, so Sam Shaw and Marilyn Monroe were the best friends, the best buds. They were super close, and it's actually kind of how they got started. So Marilyn was dating the director of Viva Zapata, who hired Sam to be the official photographer on the movie set, and so the director would tell Marilyn to drive Sam to set every day, and that's actually how they became friends. And that kind of started his career. It got his photographs more well known. He was hired onto more movie sets. He photographed Audrey Hepburn, Marlon Brando. He did a really iconic photograph of him too for Streetcar Named Desire, and Elizabeth Taylor. So after he met Marilyn, it just kind of kick-started everything. All these directors kind of wanted him to create the image that they wanted for their movie, and it just got his career going. So his muse for a lot of artists, their inspiration and their muse and stuff comes from past artists or something like that. But Sam got his muse from the people that he worked with. So this is John Cassavetes, and he's a really awarded indie director. Audrey Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, and Sophia, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. What he would do, if he had to photograph somebody, before he would start, he would actually sit down with them and talk to them and kind of get a feel of their personality and who they were, instead of just what the media had depicted them as. And that's how he would create these stunning different photographs of them. And so his technique, it was a lot different from what was expected of the time. The lighting was really different because he would kind of cast his subjects, the contrast of the lighting and stuff, it would make their features and make them more stand out, and it would pop out better. The subject was usually really simple. If you can see, she's not wearing a lot of makeup, and it's not any drastic changes to her face, but she still manages to stand out. And the background in all of his photographs were usually really simple, things that you would see in everyday life. Trees, he liked to photograph of the city a lot, and it was just a lot more simple than most photographers of the time did. And each of them had a secret message. I don't know, just looking at her face, you can she's it's a certain emotion, I don't know, whatever someone would get from it. It's just a different feeling every time, and most photographs of that time, it didn't have that. It was mostly something like this. And if you can see, she looks very high up, like a queen, into herself, and it made her less relatable to the public. And he really wanted to change that. She has a lot of makeup on, she has fancy jewelry, and he didn't like that. He wanted to break that barrier. Her face is just all one color, and it never really appealed to him. And so this is his photograph, and if you look, she's wearing less makeup. She's in less like noticeable clothing. The lighting on her face, there's shading right here, and she doesn't look, she looks more vulnerable, and he really liked that. He liked humane characteristics versus something that was unrelatable, and he wanted people to be able to like enjoy his photographs and say that they could relate to it and, you know, believe in whatever he wanted them to believe. And so, yeah, that goes into my emulation. So, for my emulation, you're not going to really understand it at first, but it's okay because I'll explain it. So, this is my emulation, and okay. So, I'll be honest, this isn't what I originally wanted to do. I started off like 2 weeks ago. I was planning to do 3 different drawings of Marilyn, of like copying his photographs that he did. And I was about halfway through all 3 of them, but I just really wasn't into them. Like it didn't really motivate me. Like the only thing motivating me was like it was AA. And I wanted to be proud of my emulation. So I took a lot of his techniques and just applied it to something different. So the background is plain because he believed in plain backgrounds. I only used black and white because it's kind of in all of his photographs, that's mostly what he did, and it made the subject stand out more. But then like the inside of the designs was always intricate because his messages were always complex. And I also had my friends sign the back of it because all of his influences and inspirations came from the people that he worked with and his friends instead of past people. So, yeah.
Did you want to take any questions from the audience about your art? You don't have to, but you can. You
I
have
don't mind
time.
if anybody has a question.
Does anyone have any questions about Sam Shaw or his influence on photography or the emulation? Oh,
Why did you choose Sam Shaw?
I actually, so it started before American Artists actually. I went to San Francisco a few years ago, and there's a shop on the pier, and it has like these massive posters of like photographs and stuff. And there's a poster of Marilyn Monroe, and it's in color, which is like not something that he usually did, but it was in color, and she's like looking down at a flower, and she had like no makeup on, and her hair was wrapped up, and I just thought it was like really beautiful. And when I was searching, I knew I wanted to do a photographer for my American Artist, and when I was searching through like photographs and stuff, I found that photograph, and I found out that Sam Shaw did it, so yeah.
any other questions? All right, one more round of applause for Christine.